Hi, this is Ren, and this is All Walks of Film. So, if you haven't been living under a rock for the past week, you've probably seen the Ghostbusters trailer, and you've probably seen some feedback on the Ghostbusters trailer, which has gotten a lot of mixed feedback, but most of it has been negative. The reason being is it feels like the all-female lead was kind of a shoehorn for the Tumblr crowd. So Crack's JF Sargent wrote a reactionary post as a reaction to the people reacting to the Ghostbusters trailer called 4 Complaints People Always Have About Women-Led Movies. Now this is really only talking about the Ghostbusters movie, and there's sprinkles of other films, but it's about the Ghostbusters movie. So starting off, he says, so there's a new Ghostbusters trailer out, and a bunch of guys on the internet are mad about it because women are in it. At times like these, I can't help but wonder if, you know what, guys? I can't do this today. What do you mean you can't do this today? Like, I don't even get it. Like, you already give up at the very beginning of the article. Anyways, so he continues, even though he gave up, we knew this was going to happen ever since an all-female Ghostbusters idea was announced back in 2014. We've known what their complaints were going to be because it's the same complaints every single time. I already wrote this article 3 years ago when Michael B. Jordan was cast as the Human Torch. Here I am again, 3 years older, pointing out the same goddamn arguments that have the same goddamn holes in it. I want to be writing my new Fast and Furious sketch idea, but no, fine, I'll do this instead. Here are 4 dumb complaints idiots have about casting a black guy as a superhero. I mean, about Arnita Sarkeesian's last tweet. I mean, about Ghostbusters. So, I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to basically put all the complaints about the new Ghostbusters trailer as, oh, these are people who are racist, misogynist, everything the social justice warriors are against. And that's some, but the movie doesn't look good, and just because you point that out doesn't mean you're racist or misogynist or whatever. Number 4. This movie is pandering. Ghostbusters is a reboot of Ghostbusters, a 30-year-old sci-fi comedy classic. You can tell because it features a cast that is gender-swapped image of the original cast, and virtually every scene in the trailer is a copy of a scene from the original movie. You might think this means the movie is pandering to 20 and 30-somethings who remember this movie from their childhoods. According to the internet, what this means is that the movie is pandering to SJWs, also known as social justice warriors. It seems that everything is pandering. The Oscars were pandering, so are the Marvel movies and Batman v Superman and politicians and comic books and video games that feature women, and I'm falling the fuck asleep typing this. Okay, well, I'm sorry that you don't get enough sleep. Maybe you shouldn't write this article and you should get the sleep you well needed. The word pandering gets puked up over all pop culture so much that I don't even hear it as a word anymore. It just makes me think of pandas. Wow, pandering pandas. Wow, that's brilliant. A-class comedy. Are we good here? Great. Next entry. Wow, you are definitely getting really butthurt over this complaint, aren't you? Number 3, the original Ghostbusters is an untouchable classic with rich mythology. You probably thought that Ghostbusters was a thing that I said was above entry, but in reality, it is a rich, beloved mythology. Look at what MRA blog Return of Kings is saying. No, I'm not linking to them. Just take my word for it. Well, when you quote somebody, citation is needed, so you do actually need to link to it. So, this guy feels that he's above citation, which Wow. So here's the quote from Return of Kings, which had complaints about Mad Max, and that was like a small group. Those aren't even MRAs. That's like an extreme example. Anyway, so here's what the Return of Kings claims our beloved JF Sargent. The question begs to be asked, how do you show respect to the cast of Ghostbusters 1 and 2 by eliminating the history that those installments created in the second sequel? The answer is, you don't. In the creative mind of Hollywarped, you just show respect to the fans of the franchise by creating a new franchise from the rape carcass of the original, like a xenomorph from the chest of yet another unfortunate host. The end result is less than the core audience expected, and more than anyone in the victim's place would want. Wow, that's extreme, but it's Return of Kings, and the xenomorph quote was actually kind of funny. But here's what Cracked had to say to that. Hey, look! Rape jokes are nonsensical metaphors. That's exactly what I expected to find when I typed in Ghostbusters MRA into Google. Below the article about ruining Ghostbusters, there are people talking about how making Boba Fett Maori in the Star Wars prequels ruins Star Wars, and how the only way to save this film would be to have a shot at naked Jennifer Lawrence covered in ectoplasm. These people can't contain the creep within. Okay, trolls, and look, the person who commented was a guest, so obviously they're just trying to throw in some shit to be funny. And based on the trailer of the movie, we have seen the color of ectoplasm change. I wonder why. This is the same complaint people make about every comic book mythology, which reboots itself every, 3 months or so, and every video game, even though video game stories are generally afterthoughts at best. Have you played The Last of Us? And yet, the complaint about preserving the source material only shows up when we talk about adding women and minorities. I've pointed this out before. Here are more pictures of pandas. Okay, you watch way too much John Oliver, my friend, because I swear, like, the new thing with the social justice warrior crowd now is to show cute pictures of animals whenever something's too traumatizing for them. And he has to continue the article saying, all right, we're halfway through this. I'll change it up a bit. Oh, well, it's not like your article is like really long or anything, but okay. Let's go. Number 2, any criticism means the movie will flop. Look at the Transformers movies. They didn't flop, and everybody thinks they're shit. You probably think that this kind of social justice warrior pandering means that they've shoehorned in all kinds of annoying leftist slop. Black people who are smart, or transgender characters who don't get murdered. But no, that's not what happened. The truth is that a lot of people were made uncomfortable by the fact that the only black character in this trailer is an uneducated woman who exhibits a lot of what could charitably be called sass and uncharitably be called a very racist depiction of a black woman. Several people have expressed their opinions about this, and apparently that means the film will flop. Okay, first of all, nobody has a complaint that black people are being portrayed smart in movies. The people who complain about that shit are complaining that Obama is literally the cause of global warming. Oh wait, they don't believe in that either. Anyways, nobody has a complaint over this character being smart. In fact, we have a complaint that she's pandering to this street smarts character, which we've seen several times. I mean, it started with Beverly Hills Cop, and then we saw it with Men in Black and all this kind of stuff. We're done with that character. I mean, we've moved on, but yet they want to shoehorn in this character, and like Ernie Hudson wasn't that character, so why are we having it in this Ghostbusters movie? As far as I can tell, that this movie isn't continuing on the franchise. It's just a reboot, quite possibly even just a remake of the first one, with elements of the second one, but I'm not really sure because I've only seen one trailer. And that sass that they're talking about. Nobody cares about sass as like, oh, well, you know, a woman's strong and confident and sometimes mouths off. It's a particular type of sass that plays off of black stereotypes. And yeah, people get sick and tired of it. I mean, like, I would like to see black characters that don't come from the street and don't, you know, say common lines as, oh, hell no, and shit like that. Now, granted, that is a demographic of people that does reflect a certain group of people. But when you do that in movies, people make assumptions about society based off of the movies they see. So I think that that is a complaint that's legitimate that people have. All right, continuing on with the article. Right, because spirited discussion of the racial implications of narratives in pop culture isn't the kind of thing that generates massive Oscar-winning hits. It's definitely a sign that a movie will fail. First of all, we don't know if the movie will fail. I mean, there are plenty of audiences who don't pay attention to the internet and just see a brand name and will buy into it. There's an entire portion of pop culture devoted to commenting on other pop culture. This is exactly what Crack does. So you're neck deep in that part of pop culture right now. And if you're commenting on the new Ghostbusters trailer, you're part of it too. And yet everyone who loves pop culture enough to have strong opinions about it is somehow never happy. Criticism of movies is impolite, apparently. Having opinions is ugly. Everyone should just agree that everything is great and never feel anything otherwise, unless they're being pandered to. To which the author shows us another picture of a panda because we didn't get the joke already. My Fast and Furious sketch idea is that all the characters speak in tough guy, gearhead metaphors, but don't exactly know anything about cars and can't understand each other. It's not exactly groundbreaking, but this is a new medium for me. It's fun to push myself as a writer, and it's definitely a more interesting idea than this misogynistic claptrap about Ghostbusters. So, why didn't he do that, you may ask? The same reason why I made this video. Because it's clickbait. But clearly, any criticism to the new Ghostbusters movie must mean that you're a misogynist. And finally, number 1. A saliva-streaked explosion of incoherent goober malarkey. Okay, you were spoiled as a kid, weren't you? Here's my final catch-all entry for all the poppycock I stumbled across researching the other entries. This rounds the article out and ends it on a goofy note. I'll show you these tweets, and then I'll have a few jokes about them. Here's is a final space filler sentence for this opening paragraph. Okay, yeah, you might have needed an editor right there because here's and is already has here is in it. Anyways, moving on. So he shows a couple tweets that people had, and people are complaining about how the Ghostbusters is raping their childhood and pandering and all this stuff. And he continues with, there hasn't been a new Ghostbusters movie in 27 years. How is anyone still so passionate about it as a franchise? Well, go to Hot Topic or go to Toys R Us or any place that sells toys, and the Ghostbusters toys are there because people like the movie. In fact, one of the greatest toys that I've ever seen is the pop vinyl for the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. What does "Let's learn you some GB lore" mean in English? What relevance does Winston Zeddlemore's post-Ghostbusters academic career have in this conversation? Or any conversation that any two human beings have ever had? Not even Ernie Hudson cares about that trivial flim-flam. No, instead he's in God's Not Dead 2, which is unfortunate for any Ghostbusters fans that are atheists. I think that about does it. Thanks for going through this with me, because it obviously was a traumatizing experience for you. I hope we can all agree that it is too early for anyone to have a worthwhile opinion on what the new Ghostbusters movie will be. Maybe it will be fine, and maybe it will be garbage. Maybe it will ruin our memories of the original, and maybe it won't. probably safe to assume it'll have ghosts. But even that's up in the air at this point.
What?
One of the characters in my Fast and Furious sketch is named Grits Lojack and rides a panda. Take care. Have a good weekend. All right, so instead of concluding his article with Ghostbusters, he continues to complain that he wasn't able to write his Fast and the Furious sketch, which is a great sign of maturity there. Anyways, so this guy is so frustrated at people complaining about the new Ghostbusters movie and seems so surprised that people would react to a trailer. That's what the internet does. When a trailer comes out, people react to it. Wake the fuck up. Or maybe that's because you haven't gotten enough sleep. So I hope you do get sleep and have dreams of pandas in a safe space filled with bamboo. So, in all seriousness, I did not like the trailer, and I think Paul Feig is the wrong choice for a Ghostbusters reboot. In fact, most people don't want a reboot. They want a sequel. I know that Dan Aykroyd had talked earlier about expanding the Ghostbusters franchise so that it was worldwide, and this movie seems to really shit on that idea and say no. Instead of expanding the franchise, instead of creating something from what we already have so that the fans of the old Ghostbusters can enjoy the new Ghostbusters as a new experience, they said, fuck it. We're going to be lazy. We're just going to make essentially the same movie as the first two movies. Maybe combine them together. Maybe it's just the first one. I'm not really sure. But it doesn't look like it's going to be that good. And quite frankly, I don't really care if they choose to have a cast of all women or such. I think having all women definitely says that they want to go with the Bridesmaid style of humor. I mean, they're getting the director of Bridesmaids to do this movie, along with much of the same cast as Bridesmaids. I don't know if that's the right audience, because I know fans of the original Ghostbusters, and I know fans of Bridesmaids, and I don't know if they necessarily collide as well as people would hope so. So I don't know. The movie might be good. It might be bad. Based on the trailers that I've seen, I think it's the latter. So, what do you think? Do you think the Ghostbusters trailer looks good? Do you think it looks bad? What did you think of the article? Please put your comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.